What do you got going on here?
Those are part of the bar feeders. So that, do you see that beige tube right there?
Yeah.
The raw material goes in there, and those are the pusher bars that draw it into the CNC.
Actually, I'm very impressed with this. You know, here's a smaller facility that, you know, basically what they could do is they could say, hey, we don't want to do this anymore and let the Chinese or another country do this business. But, you know, here's a young lady that has basically taken this thing and turned it into something, and, you know, it's doing pretty good volume. It's not a major profit margin for them, but they're able to keep, you know, 40, 50 employees actively working and showing that we can make things here in America and compete with the Chinese, the Japanese, and all the others. So I'm very impressed with what's happening here.
Our specialty is producing cylindrical steel parts for the ag and construction industries. We make very simple parts, but they can be very tight tolerances that go into engines, but they're basically all the same shape. They're round with a hole in the middle. Well, every day we're going after waste, so we do everything we can to aggressively address anything that we're wasting money on, because it is such a competitive market. There is such a tight profit margin, and other companies are making improvements, and we have to be aggressive about our own improvements. So we're always looking at making our production more efficient.
What are some ways that you would go about doing that?
Well, we look a lot at setup reductions so that we can easily produce one part and transition to a different part without a lot of cost, because those costs are assigned then to the price of the part. So the best we can keep those prices down, the more competitive we'll be and the more volume we'll get, which in turn will address those costs, overhead costs.
You know, it's a fine line of where to come in and help. You know, where the government can come in and just kind of give you a little bit of seed to kind of get it up and rolling, or a little, maybe buy a machine that could keep you competitive to where you can keep the, you know, other markets from outside the United States out, and we continue to make it here. A prime example, you know, we've got some companies out there right now who some of their parts are coming from Japan, and they can't get those parts because of that. And this is a prime example of why it's important to keep companies like this up and rolling, because if there's a catastrophe outside the United States, this company here is not going to really be affected by, you know, that catastrophe.
Well, my employees are the experts in what they do. They know why they do it. They know why each step is in the process. What IMEC was able to do was come in and help them look at that differently and really think about what are the necessary steps in producing the product at a high quality, and how can we do those things differently that will cause the elimination of the machine being down any more than it needs to be. So setup reduction was very important.
One of the things I've been asking people is, if you're an Illinois-based company, why do you want to stay here? You know, and make people really think about it, because we have to change that. We've got to get it to where people not only want to stay here, but companies from outside of Illinois want to come here, and also from outside of the United States. Because if you look at the assets that we have with our river, our rail, our roadways, and the hardest workers around are right here. I mean, it's assets that could really be huge and put a lot of people to work if only given the opportunity, and we level that playing field and create an environment to where people want to come here.
Congressman Tucker said that one of the concerns with the IMEC program is its level of funding. Obviously, there's a budget-cutting environment in Congress this year. How do you think this program should be treated? Should it be cut, or should it get an increase in funding?
You know, like I've said before, is, you know, right now as we stand here today, it's $58,000 per second in debt that we're paying. So we all know that the country is broke, but what we have to do is we can't go in and just start whacking, you know, things out. We've got to go in with a scalpel and go in and fine tooth comb and get the proper things out. This is something that I think, you know, it's a true investment, because, you know, they're not looking for very much at all, and what little they get, you know, ends up creating and keeping 40 jobs, and then plus the spin-off that comes from that. So I think it's something that needs to be maintained.
I don't believe in handouts, like most people don't believe in handouts, but this is one of those situations where IMEC actually facilitates the improvement. And so without that being a resource to the small manufacturers in Illinois, it's very difficult to train your employees, have them look at things differently, look at what they've been doing for 10 years that now is redefined as waste, and changing the way they've been doing things. And IMEC is one of the organizations that's available to help facilitate that change, and it's critical for our viability.